I feel like we compartmentalize our personal and our professional lives. And when we compartmentalize, that fragments us. Freedom starts here. So once we can kind of dive into the belief system, dive into the mindset and find out, where is it that you are feeling trapped? I'm so grateful for both of my businesses and all the storms that have come because it's made me a much stronger, wiser person. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to have autonomy over my schedule and I wanted to have flexibility and freedom and I wanted to raise my family my way. I was just so young and excited. I didn't realize that there was fear there. We're so tied to our current identity that we're terrified to step out of it to create something better for ourselves. You can absolutely create a life and business that you're excited to wake up to. Energy doesn't lie. Is it selfish to be committed to taking care of yourself and your family? It's really a leadership quality. We're going into this incredible blue ocean where it's going to free us from a lot of these monotonous tasks so we can spend more time doing the things that we enjoy.
Hey everyone, you're tuning into the Vast Track podcast where we sit down with business leaders who are rethinking how business gets done. I'm your host, Billy Basuni, and today we are joined by Grace Redmond, an author, fellow podcast host, an executive coach with the Dare to Achieve program, and founder and CEO of Stansbury Staffing. Grace is not only a seasoned entrepreneur with nearly 25 years in the staffing industry, but also a first-generation Palestinian American who built her company around values of family, integrity, and community impact. Grace, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Billy. I'm looking forward to our conversation. You always have such great energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Likewise. So why don't we get started with telling the audience, who you are, your background, what you do, who you serve.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So again, I'm Grace Redmond and I own Stansbury Staffing here in the San Francisco Bay Area. For over 20 years, we've served both, small, large, and enterprise organizations where we help staff them with top talent. And 10 years ago, I started the success coaching side of the business where we work with individual contributors and executives to really help them elevate to that next level. So it's been it's been incredible. I'm so grateful for both of my businesses and all the storms that have come because it's made me a much stronger, wiser person. I'll tell you that.
That's entrepreneurial, right? You just got to keep going and put your head down and keep taking action.
For sure.
Take us back to, kind of how you started Stansbury Staffing. Like what brought you to really want to start that to begin with? What was your background and how you started that business?
That's a great question. So I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to have autonomy over my schedule and I wanted to have flexibility and freedom and I wanted to raise my family my way. Although I hadn't had I didn't have a family yet. And I remember one day I was in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley at after work event and I overheard these two gentlemen talking about how their sister just, made this placement and how she, made $10,000. And all I could think of as a young woman at that time was I could be free and I can support myself and take care of myself if I do that job. And so that was really when the first seed was planted for me to look into staffing. I ended up hired by a healthcare financial staffing company. Gave me amazing training. And then from there, I just took off on my own.
So you started off as an in-house recruiter and then you gained the experience and then that led you to taking the leap and starting your own company. Is that how
So
it
I
happened?
started working for an agency and they did healthcare financial staffing. So I got trained with them. And then I went to another firm and from there I started my own.
I see. At what point was it when you were finally confident enough to really start your own business? Because that's, when you're working for someone else, there's that level of security, comfort, right? You get that 401k, but what made you take that leap of faith? Was it just knowing that, you wanted that autonomy, like you said, or were there other factors?
That's a great question. When I started in staffing, I'm very grateful that immediately I was very successful.
Hmm.
And for, a young 30-year-old to see the type of, income that I was seeing, it was very motivating for me. And so I was able to, save some money because at that time my husband and I didn't have children yet. And so that gave me the security, but also I had this fire under me. When I started in the industry, it was during the dot-com craze. And so we were making placements and working with clients and having fun. So at that time, probably didn't even think about it being a leap of faith. I was just excited to do it because it felt like a golden age for us. It felt like the gold rush
Mm.
at that time. And so thinking back, I don't even remember the fear. I just remember excitement.
Yeah, sounds like you were
I
at
was
the
I
right
was just
place,
so
right
young.
time
I
then.
didn't realize I was just so young and excited. I didn't realize that there was
That
fear
it was,
there.
I mean, it sounds like you've had it better than others. I mean, most people, I feel like when they want to go into the entrepreneurship journey, it's a scary feeling, right? Wanting to, again, leave that sense of comfort. But it sounds like you were there at the right place, right time, right opportunity. I mean, Silicon Valley, obviously during the
Yes.
dot-com boom
Yes.
had massive growth.
Yes, we did.
So were those the clients that you served at that time, or did you, almost take on anything? Like how did you get your first clients?
Oh my gosh. Billy, you're gonna laugh at me right now. So the way that I got my first clients was I did the cold calling, but I did it through fax. Okay, don't laugh at me. And so what I do is every, Monday I would have like a list of the 100 companies that I wanted to reach out to. So I did it one of two ways. I would call on the telephone at that time. People still had, phone numbers and voicemail, and I wouldn't leave the office on Friday until I had made 100 calls. Not only was I making phone calls, I would put together people's resumes and profiles and start faxing them to HR departments and hiring managers. So at night, I would do the research of who I was going to call. I would put that list together. Then I'd have that list ready and then I would just fire off. That's how I started getting my first clients.
Wow.
And one of my first clients was Gilead, which,
Oh.
right now everyone knows who Gilead is. Back then, they were a small company here in our backyard. And I got that client from sending a fax to the HR department, believe it or not. So now we do it differently,
Yeah, I hope so.
of course. But that was how I started. It was, just getting out there just like you're doing it, just, doing the outreach. And it's a numbers game at the end of the day, depending on how many people you reach out to, you're going to get, 1 to 2% return on the amount of people that you reach out to. But these days we have AI to do that cold outreach.
Right, right. It's funny. I just interviewed someone else a couple weeks ago, and he's a bit older gentleman. He was saying how back in it was like I think he said 1968, the fax machine was the highest tech that we had. All right, and he argues that at that time people were still better at communicating and better at just being able to have that touch space compared to people now, which is ironic because it's like, we have all these devices, this technology at the tip of our fingertips, but yet sometimes we don't know how to do that. So, I mean, kudos to you. It takes that grit, right? It takes the effort to go out there and put yourselves out there and you're not gonna, don't ask, don't get kind of situation, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing I used to do was take bags of candy and go walk in to the company and leave it. And so things have definitely changed, but the question was, how did I get my clients? That's how I got my clients. Today it's a little bit different. I go to a lot of in-person events and I have a network. I've been in the, industry for a very long time. And I'm still planting seeds every week. I'm committed to going to 2 in-person networking events every week, and I still do that.
oh, awesome. Is there a specific industry niche that you typically serve? Is it still the tech industry, or are you in healthcare or other companies or other businesses that you serve?
Well, that's been the beauty of my businesses that we can serve across industries, but on the staffing side, our core competency was administrative staffing. And on the coaching sides, side, typically we work with executives, founders, but I've also worked with entertainers and district attorneys. So typically on the coaching side, it's high performers that we're working with.
Got it. Let's dive into that now a little bit more. So, what is your coaching, your executive coaching division or business, and what like can you give a little introduction of what that is?
Sure. So coaching is, I feel like we compartmentalize our personal and our professional lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when we compartmentalize, that fragments us. I really believe that when we integrate our personal and professional lives, that we're going to be much more successful in both. Because what I've learned is when we're struggling in our personal life, it's going to overflow into our business and careers. So if we can get a handle on, what's going on with us, then we're going to be better able to navigate the storms that come not only in life or business. So we cultivate high performance resilience to be able to kind of harness the energy of the storms that are inevitable in life and business to help us kind of soar to that next level. Because if we don't harness that energy, if we don't have the strategies, then we're going to be left behind, stranded, on the beach, and when everyone else is going to be, ahead of us. So I really believe that because I've had a coach ever since I started business. Being in a coaching program ever since I started my businesses has given me leverage. And that's what coaching does. It gives you leverage.
So, it sounds like maybe you're trying to make sure people who are, and correct me if I'm wrong. So, if someone is an executive, they're maybe having a struggle with finding fulfillment in their position or in their work, in
It
their
could be that. It could be trouble finding fulfillment. It could be that they're very burnt out because we have a very, hustle minded culture. And that's not sustainable long term.
So is the goal there to be able to help someone to, you know, be overall a better performer in both, their personal life and their professional life? It's like an overall more, you know,
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that, yeah,
Not only a better performer, but just a better person. I hear a lot of people talk about, they want to be free, they want freedom, and I feel that the freedom starts here. So once we can kind of um dive into the belief system, dive into the mindset and find out, where is it that you are feeling trapped? Where are you feeling, locked in? Where are you feeling imprisoned? And then we begin to unravel that. You realize you're a victim of your own circumstances.
right. You're a
And
product of your own past, right?
exactly. And we're all facing storms of life consistently, and oftentimes sometimes we create those storms.
So once you start unraveling it, what are the typical, I know every situation may be different, right? Circumstantial, but are there generic guidelines or lessons that you kind of teach to get them out of that rut and
Sure.
to evolve into a better, person and um yeah,
Yeah,
overall.
absolutely. So what I've been using is something called the SOAR Mastery method. That's what I've been using with my clients for the past 10 years. And the first step of the SOAR Mastery method is we really need to step back and see where our gaps are. Once we see where our gaps are, then we really need to take ownership for that. And once we take ownership, then we have to take a different action. And typically, what's weaved into that are the stories that we're telling ourselves. What are our beliefs? Because our beliefs are dictating our actions and we're creating from those actions. But oftentimes, what gets us here isn't going to get us from here to there. There's a form of self sabotage that happens. So that's really what we do is kind of see where you're at, what's the gap, what's the story, own it, then reframe it, then take, action, and then you're going to see the results and rise to that next level.
Oh, it's all super powerful stuff. It all really starts with mindset, right? You got to first believe, what you're capable of before you can actually achieve it. Right?
Exactly. And you have to believe, you have to really have conviction in your vision. And I really believe the why is powerful. Like
Hmm.
if you don't have a powerful enough why, it's like, and if you're comfortable and you have a roof over your head and, you're eating and just comfortable,
Right.
there's really no need to elevate. You're not gonna be motivated.
Right.
You're gonna stay in that.
You do need the why to create a sense of urgency, right? And then to basically take action, like you said. Um,
Absolutely.
have you seen it being a struggle with people being able to get there? And what's the biggest challenge you've seen in people in being able to overcome their own flaws or fears?
We're so tied to our current identity that we're terrified to step out of it to create something better for ourselves. We're just so attached to that old version of ourselves, and that's where I've seen people struggle. They're just it's been, it's hard for them to let go of that version of themselves that got them here, because they say, well, what if I let go from that? Like, will I be motivated to continue to create success? Like, I got here from, believing like I needed to achieve to prove my worth. And I'm
Right.
here to say we can do it a different way. Like, we can definitely create lives and businesses that we're excited to wake up to.
Right. It's quite rare, right? I feel like you meet a lot of people, you talk about work. What do you do? Um, I want to say in my, 13-year career, there's probably been a handful of people who say, I love what I do. And it sounds like you're trying to close that gap more to be able to have more people say, I love what I do. I love waking up in the morning
Yes.
and, getting to my desk or getting to whatever your work environment is and get your hands dirty and find fulfillment or purpose in what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly, and I'm so grateful that I felt that, I would say, 85% of the time. Even when I didn't have the awareness, like, I was excited to get up, in the morning to get to, my business, to get to my clients, and I raised my family at the same time, and I've also burnt out and felt horrible and terrible, and I don't wish that on anyone, and so I'm here to share with your audience that there is a different way. You can absolutely create a life and business that you're excited to wake up to. We're constantly manifesting. So if we're constantly manifesting, why not manifest with intention and create from a place of faith as opposed to fear? And that's the other thing I learned. I was creating from a place of fear
Mm.
initially. And we don't have to do that. We can create from a place of faith in yourself, faith in your capabilities, a faith in your vision.
Mike, I think you answered my next question here a little bit already, but I wanted to understand how were you able to find this? It sounds like you've manifested, you've done a lot of self work, but is there anything else that you could help our audience learn um, by maybe some tangible practices, whether that be breath work or going out and being active or, just overall taking better care of yourself, your body, right? Mental. But is there any practices that you would really encourage people to try and elevate themselves?
I mean, all of those that you mentioned are principles and strategies that I do teach. I would say the key is self-awareness, because if
Mm,
we're not aware, then we don't know that we're in this cycle. We don't know that we're self-sabotaging. And what I would recommend is, reading books on self-development, listening to podcasts, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And I believe that once you start reading or listening, then the light bulb will start coming on and you'll say, "Oh, okay, wait, I'm a workaholic because I don't feel like I'm good enough. So
yeah.
my achievement's tied to my worth, and that's why I need to achieve." And then you've opened Pandora's box and it'll start unfolding from there.
My issue is like, there's so many self-help books nowadays. There's so many podcasts. There's so many mentors, so many coaches. It's almost like too much noise.
I get it.
How do you filter that to be able to find the one that really is going to make a big impact for you to take the action, right? Like there's so many different paths that you can take, but you almost don't know which one's going to take you to the furthest destination, right? Like how do you filter through all that and know which one's right for you?
Oh my God, that's such a great question, because you're right. There is so much noise. And I've had, I've been coaching for 10 years and I've had people tell me, there's so many of you, like the market's saturated. People can talk to ChatGPT, and they're not wrong. The market is saturated, and a lot of people are using ChatGPT. I think the way that you want to differentiate is to really sit with yourself because energy doesn't lie.
Hmm.
Sit with yourself, get quiet, and if you want to make a decision on which coach to work with or which course to invest in, just really sit quietly and feel into the energy because, like I said earlier, energy doesn't lie. You can tell, like, is this the right person for me? So if you feel like something's off, it's off. Go to the next one. And I would say don't make decisions right away. I would say sit with it because if you make an impulse decision, it may not be the right decision. Because there's a lot of noise and there's so many, people out there trying to make a dollar and they're not all in alignment and they're all not all sincere. So it's take your time to make a decision.
Yeah, no, I love that. A loudest voice is really going to be the one that's within you, right? And that's the one that you
That's
really
right.
have to listen to.
I love that.
Everything else is really a supplement, right? It's a kind of a guide to get you there. But at the end of the day, like you have to trust your gut, trust your mind. Like,
Yes.
you know yourself best at the end of the day. A quote that I carried from one of my friends that told me a long time ago.
I love that.
What I'd love to know is what are your rituals here? What's your morning routine like? What does your day look like? What gets you going and flowing and to keep you on that higher frequency?
I love that. Okay, we could talk higher frequency. Let's do this. So first thing I love, my husband and I, both of us wake up really early and both of us do our prayer on our own. It's so funny. This morning he wanted to talk to me. I'm like, wait, hold on. I haven't, prayed yet. Let me pray.
Mm.
So I just, prayer, meditation, and then connecting with him. And then I immediately either go for a walk or go to a very early morning workout. So really the first thing that I do in the morning after I do my meditation and prayer is I work out, I move my body. Then from there, I come back, I check my emails, and then I get ready to go to the office. So that's a non-negotiable. The meditation, prayer, and then it's a workout, either a walk or I go into the studio.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, the morning ritual really makes a big difference. I am guilty of not having a set one yet. I wake up, make my coffee, get straight to it, and
Yeah,
oftentimes I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, I need to have a better ritual so that I can feel better
absolutely.
about the rest of my day. It still gets me through, and I'm overall a positive person, but I feel like it could really improve the qualities of my day with how it starts really. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been thinking about refining my morning routine because there's a few things that I want to add to it. So like visualization. I
Mm,
haven't been, that committed to visualization in a structured way. So that's something that I want to add. I'm constantly refining my routine. But again, like, we only have so much time in the day and, I'm ready to go. So it's hard. I used to do the miracle morning, but it's hard during the pandemic, I did the miracle morning because we had more time, but it's hard to find a full hour right now to just sit for an hour. I guess I could wake up at 4 o'clock, but I don't
yeah,
want to do.
yeah, it's always like the answer is always waking up earlier, right? But
Right.
but then that goes to, okay, how much time do you have in the evenings to sleep earlier or to, have more personal time to fill
It's all
yourself
important.
up? Yeah.
It's all important. And sleep right now is very important.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how important sleep is. So one thing I do when I do go on my walk, that's when I listen to my podcast or something motivational. So I do get those different pieces of the Miracle Morning in. They're just not all in the morning.
Mm. I actually have not heard too much about the Miracle Morning. Can you maybe
Mm.
share that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Miracle Morning. Hal Elrod is the author of the Miracle Morning. He's amazing. He had a life or death accident. They told him that he was never going to walk again. And what he did was he refused to believe that. And so he said, I'm going to look into all of the different things that these successful people did. And so he's found that there was 5 things that the majority of successful people do. And that's what we talked about: exercise,
Mm.
moving your body, reading, silence, which is meditation or prayer, affirmations, and there was one more. Oh, writing, journaling.
Mm,
So all 5 of those. So I do all 5 of those, but they're not in that 1 hour. It's not because the Miracle Morning is 1 hour, do all of
mm.
those, but I spread them out throughout the day, throughout the week.
Gotcha. Very cool. I'm
Powerful.
gonna have to look into that. And
No,
it's
listen
things
to
that
it.
we hear oftentimes, right? A lot of people are, whether they're including all five of those or they're, really diving deep into one of them and really emphasizing the importance of it. But overall, all those sound like healthy habits to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the key is to be committed and consistent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever habits you choose, like, okay, be committed and consistent with it
Right.
because that's how the results compound.
Right. Right. It's not gonna happen overnight. You have to be consistent. Consistency is key. Right. Everyone knows that phrase. Um, Great. I do want to tie this back into, what you're doing, your business. It sounds like you have figured out a way to find a fulfilling life, an elevated frequency in your day-to-day life, building a business, building another business, being an author, being a podcast host, going to all these events. Do you um, how do you see that in either your clients or your candidates? As in, let me rephrase that question. How do you know who are the right types of people that you want to work with, or or alternatively, also who is an ideal candidate that should work with you?
That's such a great question. I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, like that energy. And, early on in my career, I just worked with everyone and anyone. And then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like, okay, that's not okay to do because we're not for everyone. And then, it stretches you thin. And also, it's not in alignment. We're not in alignment for everyone. And so for me, I mean, I think like there's thing about energy. You could walk into a room and you'll know, like, hey, I connect with this person. And that's what I do. I feel into it. Like, okay, am I connecting with this person? Yes or no? What are their values? I mean, I've walked away from some really big clients where we could have really made, some, incredible revenue. However, it was not in alignment for me. Like, I don't want to do, it doesn't feel good. I could feel it in my gut. It doesn't feel good. And I mean, I have made mistakes when I didn't listen to my gut.
Follow-up question to that, though. There is, I feel like, a certain amount of impact that you can make towards someone, right? Like
Absolutely.
you can make someone's day by doing a small kind act towards them, or that's just a small example. But how much of that is like, do you try and leverage to try and make, say, a business deal work, or you know what I mean? Like someone could be not the right person, but could you evoke the goodness out of them, if you will,
Oh,
right? Like, yeah,
absolutely.
what are your
Well,
thoughts
if
on
and
that?
for me, kindness is also key. And, early on in my career, they trained me to keep an eye on the bottom line, keep an eye on your competition. And that was very stressful. I was not going to make it.
Mm,
And so I stepped back and I said, "Okay, Grace, you're enjoying what you're doing, but this is terrible. Like, this is stressful. I not enjoying that part of it. What can I do?" I said, "You know what? You love helping people. That's the key. That's what you do. Anyone you get in touch with or anyone you connect with, make sure that you serve them some way." And that's why I'm still here, all these years later, is because I did come up from a place of service and kindness. And sometimes that kindness had to be for myself because did get myself into situations where, a business or a contact was taking advantage of us because I was, took that perspective of service and kindness. So I've had to learn how to be kind to myself in this, but it's all of it. It's service. That's why I'm still here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that perspective or take that, thought,
yeah,
thought
it's
process.
it's finding that balance, right, between um, how can I sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Okay.
um, yeah, it's
Because we still have to run a business.
right. Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Like, it's finding that balance between like being able to like do what you need to do, but also, sorry, being able to serve that person or the client or the candidate that you want to work for, but also prioritize what's important for you and your business, keep yourself in alignment so that you can take yourself further. I mean, a selfish aspect to it that is almost essential and necessary. It's really about finding that balance, right?
But is it selfish?
It's a good question. Elaborate, please.
Is it selfish to be committed to taking care of yourself and your family?
Right.
Because
No,
when I
yeah.
take care of myself and I feel myself, then I'm more able to, show up for Billy. I'm more able to show up for my clients.
Right.
So when I set those boundaries, it's really a leadership quality.
Right. Right. Yeah, maybe selfish isn't the right word. We'll have to think of another one and correct that. But yeah, let's so you know you've had a lot of successes. Sounds like you're still trying to grow. What are the challenges that you're going through right now to be able to uh, elevate you and have you evolve to even a higher version of yourself or for the business? What are the current challenges that you're kind of going through right now and how you're going through that or working through that?
There's so many challenges right now. I'm very grateful and blessed that I have had many successes, and I've had probably more failures.
Hmm.
Really, the failures that grew me and taught me and helped me create the wisdom. And the challenges that we're facing right now is twofold. The talent acquisition industry, the staffing industry has really been affected by everything that's going on, in the economy with AI. So
Hmm.
that's been challenging for us. Although I've been through five other economic crises, this one's different, and we don't know what's happening day to day. So we said, we've made it through so many other storms. We're going to make it through this. Let's just get as educated as possible. And so that's why I'm, going to these events, and my teams are, going to events for us to understand AI, how it's affecting the industry, and how we can leverage, this new technology for us to continue to forge ahead. Because we are in a cycle, it will shift. So
Hmm.
that is one of the challenges. The other challenge we talked about earlier, the, coaching industry is very saturated.
Hmm.
And everywhere you turn, someone is a coach. And so the challenge that we're having is differentiating ourselves from the others. And I've realize that that comes back to my energy. Same thing. It is my energy and being authentic and being true to myself. And that's going to come through. Because as you know, with all this noise, do this and do that, and this funnel and this AI, you're going to it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Um,
You're going to be successful just being committed and consistent to those few things that you choose to do.
Yeah, and being true to yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, like that right person will come along as long as you stay true to yourself, and they're gonna want to work with you as soon as they
Absolutely.
feel that authenticity. Recognize that you are there to help and serve, and that you are an essential in their life, in their professional career, or whatever it may be. Um,
Absolutely.
Going back to that first point, though, what have you seen? How have you seen AI direct your industry directly? Are you seeing that in a day to day? Can you maybe share with us how it's actually impacting you in your business, or
Sure.
also how are you trying to implement that into your business?
So we haven't, looked at implementing it into our business yet. We're just learning, what are the different ways that AI is going to be helping the industry. And what I'm learning is it's really going to create tremendous opportunity for people to get back to having the time to cultivate the one-on-one relationships with, like in the executive coaching with the executives, in the staffing, with the hiring managers, with the candidates, because the time that we used to take to maybe, for example, sort through 100 resumes, AI will be able to help us do that. Again, I know there may be some biases there, so we'll be on top of that. But some of the tedious work
Hmm.
that we've been doing, AI is going to be able to take on that tedious work. So then we can spend more time getting in deeper connection with, our executives, our hiring managers, and our candidates. I love that. I'd rather spend more time connecting with you than, going through, stacks of emails.
Right. No, yeah, and I agree. Being someone who's been diving into the world of AI, my thought is, it's not going to necessarily replace positions. You will never replace people. You,
Never.
I think they're probably way down in the future. It can replace some positions, but that I don't think
It
is
can.
coming
It will.
anytime.
It's going to.
Right. It's inevitable, right? But at the same time, it doesn't take away the critical thinking aspect that a human has, right? It's a supplemental tool almost for you to get work done faster. It's like going back to the fax machine, right? Like we after that had, and other tools to be able to expedite those processes, but it didn't replace the basic function of communication. It just helped supplement it, right?
I
So
love that. I
I
love that example that you gave.
yeah, I agree with you. I think you have a right pulse on it so far. I mean, it's changing day to day, and who knows, tomorrow a
It's
robot could
changing day to day.
be.
Well, and that's what they're talking about. It's
Yeah,
changing day to day. And, I was in another meeting because, again, I go to a lot of informative meetings because we want to stay on top of the pulse of what's going on. And what I'm hearing is, yes, AI is here to stay, and the robotics is really where it is. With that being said, yes, there are going to be some jobs taken away. However, there's also going to be new industries created
right,
and new jobs created.
right. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the foundation of what Fast Track is doing. But it really helps to kind of minimize and optimize the workflows. That way, you're not spending, for example, in your case, you're not maybe in the candidate search, you're not spending 6 to 8 hours. Filtering through candidates and
Exactly.
it AI can do that for you. And then your personnel can really focus on the high value work, which is getting in front of people, right?
Exactly.
And not having to filter through all these people, not having to maybe talk to them all one by one. AI can qualify those leads, and then your company can really just focus on the high value work, right?
Right.
So yeah,
Exactly.
it'll be
And
interesting how it unfolds.
it's going to be interesting how it unfolds. And I feel it's important to, keep an open mind because, like you said, when we had the fax machine, I mean, I know that's so, but you had another person you talked about the fax machine.
Yeah.
But when email came, I mean, I can't even imagine doing business now without email. Like it's
Right.
yes, it's change and people are afraid of change, but it makes us more efficient, and it's important to have more efficient processes, more efficient workflow processes because it frees us up. It helps us become more creative as
Right.
well. I
Right. Right. It gives you more time to be able to be more creative and think
exactly.
outside the
And
box.
exactly. And
Right.
not only does it give us more time to be creative, but when I first started my business, I had to do all of my work at my desk from 8 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then when these beautiful things came, I could leave my desk. So with all of these new and there's a flip side to every coin, like with social media. Social media has been amazing and it's been toxic.
Right.
And so you're going to have both sides of the coins, but feel like we're going into this incredible blue ocean where it's going to free us from a lot of these monotonous tasks so we can spend more time doing the things that we enjoy, which goes back to creating a life and business that we're excited to wake up to and freedom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think this is all kind of going full circle just within our conversation, isn't it? Um, it's yeah, it's really also relieving hearing the people that I've spoken to, all these business leaders, not all of them, but the ones who get it are really embracing it, right? They're not being fearful of it. Um, and not even being fearful sometimes, but some of them are being completely ignorant about it, right? They're like, oh, well, we know it's there. It's ChatGPT. I use it. But like, no one's really trying, not everyone as business leaders are actually trying to implement it in their business. And it sounds like you are, which is it's almost essential right now to be able to make sure that you do keep that pulse, right? So that you know how to integrate that, because if you don't apply it and integrate it, you're going to be left behind, right?
That's right.
You're not going to succeed. You're not going to thrive. And next thing you know, you're old news. I mean, yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
this is a storm. You're right. I mean, it's old news. Like this is a storm. Like harnessing the energy of the storm so you can soar, you know, to that next level. That's the strategy. Because, like you said, you're going to be left behind.
Right. Um, So great. I mean, so what is that, what does Stansberry Staffing look like in the next 3 to 5 years for you, or your executive coaching program? What does that look in the next? I guess, yeah. What are your visions for it in the next three to
Yeah.
five years?
So for Stansbury, I feel like there is a blue ocean there. I really was thinking about exiting before we had this cycle, and now I'm rethinking that. And my vision is because there are going to be a lot of organizations, like you said, that are not going to jump on, implementing AI right away. And so those organizations are probably going to need the traditional support, the traditional administrative support. And so I'm thinking that we could be that firm for those organizations who might not have, the tools to implement right away, to be there for them, to help support them. So that's what I'm thinking.
Mm,
And for the executive coaching side, I definitely Stansbury Staffing is, the top staffing firm here in, the Silicon Valley in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm so excited about that. And I want the executive coaching side, like when someone needs coaching or their team is struggling, I see us being the team that they reach out to help them, get on track and get to that next level. That's what I see. I see us being the leader and on the coaching side, and it will happen.
yeah,
It
you
will.
got to manifest it, right? Great. I guess maybe I want to just follow up on that, and I want to ask, um, what does differentiate you and your firm in the Bay Area, compared to other firms, um, and why should someone go to Stansbury Staffing or Dare to Achieve versus others?
Mm. I'm just gonna say it's my heart. When you come to me, you know that you're gonna be taken care of. You're gonna get the personalized service from myself and my team. I'm sincere and I care. And that's just my energy. That's who I am. And
Yeah,
that's what got me here.
that's the foundation, right? I mean, it's already proven. You already have a successful business that's been running for, what did you say, 26 years now, right? And so if it's something's proven, something's right. So and I can tell just from speaking with you, you are a genuine person,
You.
who loves to, it sounds like loves to serve, and just help people. So if that's the
Yeah,
goal, and
I think
there's a lot of people that need help, and
yes.
yeah, hopefully,
And I have a great team. I didn't do this alone. I have a team that's been with me for, almost a decade. My original team was with me for the first, decade. So I could not do any of this without my team and the support that they provide me with.
awesome. Well, Grace, unfortunately, we are out of time here, but thank you so much. This has been such an insightful conversation. Really admire how you've built a purpose-driven, really, powerful business that's, become what sounded like a trusted part of the Bay Area community.
You.
Um, for listeners who want to connect with you, and learn more about Stansbury Staffing or Dare to Achieve, what's the best way to reach out to you?
You can just find me at Grace at graceredmond.com, or you can just look me up on LinkedIn, Grace Redmond, connect with me. And yeah, or, just put Grace Redmond and my websites will come up, or LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to connecting with your audience. And if you have any questions, please just feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link those contact information in the descriptions below. That way you
All
can reach
right.
out to Grace Redmond immediately with Stansbury Staffing or Dare to Achieve. In the meantime, Grace, thank you again. I appreciate your time and being on our show.
Billy, thank you so much. This was so enjoyable. I appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.